Hello and welcome. I'm Harmony Kwiker, and this is the channel for the Institute for Spiritual Alignment, where we offer ongoing learning opportunities for therapists, coaches, and anyone who's passionate about bridging the divide between traditional psychotherapy and coaching and spiritual transformation. In this video, we are going to be talking about states of consciousness, embodiment, and subtle energy as they all relate to healing and transformation. There are so many modalities out there who focus on one or the other, working just with energy, just with states of consciousness, just with the body. But the spiritually aligned approach to healing and transformation honors all of these aspects of ourselves as we find our way back home to our spiritual self, which is a felt experience unique to each one of us. It's not about spiritual dogma, it's about the returning home to the spiritual self. So before we dive into that, I want to let you know that I wrote a book for you. Align Living and Loving from the True Self is a comprehensive map that offers you real tools to come back home to the truth of who you are and how to honor this deeply sacred place within yourself as you connect with the people in your life. Align is available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. I also created these self-guided alignment cards for you. There are 48 cards in this deck, and each card has a wisdom teaching and a sentence stem to support you in living and loving from your true self. These are only available on my website, thespirituallyaligned.com, and they are wonderful for your own contemplative practice, for work with clients, friends, parties, group therapy, anyone in your life who likes to dive deep and look at themselves and really contemplate healing and transformation. These cards are wonderful for that. So I want to begin by talking about states of consciousness. Most of us, all of us, I would venture to say, are walking around the world identified with our ordinary mind. And so the state of consciousness of most people on the planet is of the ordinary mind, which is another word for the ego. And ego in Latin literally translates to the word I. So ego is our identity, it's who we think we are. And embedded in the ego is our conditioned self, our acquired ideas, beliefs about ourselves and the world. And when we are identified with our ego and we are carrying around these conditioned patterns and beliefs and behaviors, the way we move in the world is the way of the personality. So the root word of personality is persona. And in Latin, persona literally translates to the word mask. So when we are identified with our ego, engaging in the world from our personality, we are masking the truth of who we are. And so this state of consciousness is really what we are working with when we go to therapy, when we are working on self-development, and when we're working on changing. Because the personality is so consistent over our lifetime, beginning at the age of 10, the personality doesn't change very much. So because of that, we aren't trying to change our thoughts. We're not even trying to change our behaviors. We are trying to differentiate from this state of consciousness that has us feel small, disempowered, and as if we are what life has taught us about ourselves rather than the essence of who we are. So when we can see the state of consciousness of the ordinary mind with more clarity, we can differentiate from that mind. It doesn't mean that that mind goes away. We're not vanquishing it. We're not even making those patterns of behavior go away. We're simply getting some space from it. And that space is what increases our consciousness. So the more space we can put around something, the more aware we are of it, the more our consciousness is elevated in relationship to that thing. So this mindfulness approach to transformation is essentially saying that the state of consciousness of the ego isn't who we truly are. We're not trying to change the ego or make it go away. We're getting space from it. And that space increases our awareness, increases our conscious choice, increases our ability to be more awake and aware as we come back home to the truth of who we are. So when we are identified with our ego, we are disembodied. So I want to talk about embodiment for a moment. Oftentimes, when we hear the word embodiment, we might think about ecstatic dance or somebody who exercises a lot or some physical activity. And that is not what embodiment means. Embodiment is fully occupying this body. Somebody who exercises a lot can actually be quite dissociated from their body. So when we're talking about embodiment, we're talking about occupying the body fully from our spiritual self. So, for example, are we fully in our shoulders, or are we carrying around old emotional energy pollution in our shoulders that has our muscles feel tight? Are we fully occupying this part of our body? Are we fully occupying our heart, our belly, our root, all the way down to our toes? And when we are fully occupying our body, our soul has a seat. We are fully home in this vessel, fully here, fully present in this life. And so we have this inner mind body connection. We have a thought, there's a corresponding emotion or sensation in the body. And when we can access those sensations in the body, we come into direct experience. And that direct experience shifts our state of consciousness from the ordinary mind to the subtle mind. So we now are in direct experience. We have more presence. It's like a flashlight shining right into our body, and we are one step closer to embodiment. And this state of consciousness is actually what allows us to begin to come into awake awareness. And awake awareness is different from being aware or having attention, right? So I can be aware that I have tension in my shoulders, or I can experience my entire self, including that tension in my shoulders, from awake awareness, which isn't from the mind. It's from awareness itself, which is beyond this body. And that awareness can actually touch every aspect of myself with a welcoming, loving presence. It's different from the ordinary mind. It's this welcoming, loving awareness that is always awake and is always free and has the capacity to welcome everything. And so this is a state of consciousness that is essential for our healing and transformation. Once we have access to awake awareness, we can begin to explore the state of consciousness of the true self. So I write a lot about the true self. I love to explore the true self, and I so love guiding my clients back home to the true self. True self consciousness has the capacity to be in everything at once. So when I am in true self consciousness, I am in the vitality, spontaneous expression of life moving through me. I'm not contained or holding unprocessed emotions within me. I'm fully present, fully awake, fully aware. And I can also be in the grief and the fear and the pain and what somebody else is feeling and the tree and the bird. I can be in everything at once with true self-consciousness. And that is the most expansive, infinite, unifying, and integrating state of consciousness. So, states of consciousness combined with embodiment really supports our healing. And as we feel those sensations in our body and even the thoughts in our mind, we can start to access the subtle energy inside of those expressions. As life is expressing through us, the energy, which is that mobilizing force of emotions, of desire, of breath, we can get into that energy and allow our subtle energy to move. So when we're in our ordinary mind, we're holding on to old emotional energy pollution and we're staying stuck. But as we start to shift consciousness, accessing the body, we can start to feel the subtle energy that we've been holding, and we can start to clear, clarify, and tone our subtle energy so that we can fully embody the consciousness of the true self, all the way down to our toes, beyond the body. This has been measured by science. with heart math and with the beautiful work of Barbara Brennan. So we can fully embody that energy around us, the energy body, and we can really walk through through our life in contact with the core of our being, our true self. And as we do that, we can recognize that everything is spiritual, that we're sacred, that this body is sacred, that even our sweet little ego thoughts are sacred. Every relationship, every person, every struggle that we have, everything we experience, the bliss and pleasure of being in a body, the pain of being in a body, all of that is sacred. And when we are here, we can really discover for ourselves the spiritual nature of our humanity. And so, if you would like to learn more, I would love to invite you to take one of my courses, Living Your Alignment or Spiritually Aligned Relationships, if you want to learn how to really embody the true self consciousness in all of life. And if you are ready to learn how to facilitate alignment, my training program offers so much clarity around how to guide clients to shift states of consciousness as we ourselves, as the clinician or practitioner, also are deepening and shifting states of consciousness. So thank you so much for listening. I wish you so much joy and beauty on your journey.